It's always awesome when I tell people that I'm gonna go make a calculator in my free time. I mean, like, I actually enjoy it, and it really helps you guys, as well as myself, mostly myself. Today, I would like to go over the Bit Heroes Guild Information Spreadsheet, why you should use it, and what it's going to look like when you have it all filled out, if you have it filled out. So what exactly is it? The Bit Heroes Guild Information Sheet is essentially a really nice way to keep track of your guild's information, as well as to see how you are doing. It's very helpful for you as a guild leader, because obviously you can keep track of the members in your guild as well as how your guild is doing, as well as it acts as a hub for information, which is very helpful for players that you're trying to recruit. You can simply send them a link to your document, and they can see, oh, this is your rules, this is how you apply, so on and so forth. It also allows your members, let me see if I can pull this up here, a great way to see how they're doing, how they're contributing to the guild, and how they can continue contributing to the guild. So first of all, we have, well, down here we have quite a few tabs. The first one is the rules and information. So here we simply have the rules and information for our guild. We have a basic one-sentence overview. We have perks information, guild requirements, the information on points, which we'll get into later. This is a really neat system that allows you to more dynamically track player contribution instead of just using a kick timer and a contribution requirement. And we have our general rules. So this is if you want to add anything interesting, like chat moderation rules and whatnot. And we've got information on our promotions, so member and officer. And finally, we have a little bit about myself, in case people are interested. Really just telling people, why can they trust you as a guild leader? Up next, we have member performance. So this is essentially where we can see and track all the different contributions for players. Unfortunately, this is the biggest page, and it has the most calculations, so it takes a little bit. Oh, here we go. So here I can see who's been absent, who has the lowest contribution, who has the most contribution on any given day. Go down a bit, we can see our GVG information, our averages and GVGs, as well as our points information here. Now all of this can be easily summarized in the quick overview page, where it tells you your players' points information, as well as what gives points, perks, and of course statistics. Moving over, we have how you can apply. So right here, I just have a very simple format for how people can apply. We have a little bit of a queue here for players that are going to get into the guild. They just currently can't get in, as well as players being considered in the spots available, which I'll get into all of this in a little bit more depth later. One of the last but most important tabs is the guild perks calculator tab. So this one will tell you which perks you can buy, which ones are most efficient, and which ones are most efficient for their cost. So you can essentially use this to see, oh, what's best for my guild? What should we get? And of course, if depending on if you want to focus on items or something else, you can figure that out and then go from there. Right here we have a kicked players area where I can see all the players that or most of the players have kicked from the guild so far, as well as why they've been kicked, so I can keep that in mind for if they want to rejoin, or if they want to join another guild, I can be like, oh yeah, this guy, he broke some of our rules. Nah, nobody's broken our rules so far, which is nice. And lastly, over here we have a surveys tab for me to do surveys on things. This is one that I'm not sure many of you guys will use, but one of the ones I'm doing right now that might be interesting is, where did you find our guild? So there's lots of different ways to advertise your guild. So it'll be I'm really trying to figure out what's the most effective way for us to get new players, because that's pretty important. All right, let's get into entering the information for your guild. So first of all, in order to download this document, you're going to click the link in the description, and you can just hit file right here, and somewhere around this area is going to have an add to drive button. You're actually going to not have all these options. So you can hit add to drive, then you're going to go to your drive, a Google Drive. I'm assuming you have a Gmail account, but if you don't, I don't think you can do this. I guess you can download it as an Excel sheet. But either way, so you download it, you add it to drive, you enter here. All right, you're ready to start editing things. This first tab, as well as the application tab, they're pretty self-explanatory. I've added in a few notes in case you want to use some of these formats, or just know what goes here exactly. Of course, you can change these, you can remove these. Really doesn't matter. This is just the format that I found useful. of course you guys can do that. I'll be going in order of some of the least complex things here to edit to some of the more complex things. So we'll get into more of the interesting stuff towards the end of this video. Alright, so then how to apply. Again, this stuff is pretty self-explanatory. You know, you enter this information, you enter the what you want, how you want people to apply, what you want them to put in your application, what increases their chances of getting in. You can also add requirements here, of course, if you have requirements. I think I actually put requirements on the general information tab for me. We've also got quick overview here. So, before I go on to this, there is some of the information in your document will not be fully available yet. You'll have to wait till 1 or 2 days after entering information for this to all be valid, because the calculator is essentially pulling information from your member performance tab in order to calculate the number of players you have, their performance, etc., etc., etc. So just keep that in mind. So you won't be able to use some of the features of this document until 1 or 2 days after using it and entering information. So over here we have your guild perks calculator area, and essentially here, again, pretty easy. You enter the perks you have. So let's say you have 1 guild members, you enter that. You have 2 max shards, you enter that. And as well as the parameters down here. There's quite a few parameters. I'll get into those a little bit. First of all, something to note when using any document I make, is that the cells that have red around them are essentially editable. So these are the guides you want to change. Everything else, this is just results and calculations. So you can go ahead and just look at this stuff, but just enter numbers in the red zones. So you enter those, you enter the number of guild bucks you have. So let's say we have 250 guild bucks. What the interesting thing about this calculator is it actually show you what you can afford here. So this green stuff is what you can afford, the white ones not so much. So there's actually 2 options we have here. Right here in this place right here, you can do type 1 or 0. 0 will essentially tell you the absolute amount that this is increasing. So this is increasing your item find by an absolute 2%. But if you click 1, this compares the relative efficiency of, say, item find to adding another guild member. So you change it to 1 and you can see that relative to your cost. So this is looking for the most cost effective. I would just always keep this on 1, personally. Even though this number isn't completely real, just 1 makes it simpler for everyone. And whichever one of these is green, that's going to be your best bet for your cost, or the biggest one overall, depending on if it's 1 or 0. The current guild members, again here, is not going to come up until 1 or 2 days. Another thing to note is that the average bonuses here, these are the average bonuses that without the weekly ones. I actually calculate in the weekly ones right here, so you don't have to worry about it. So just enter, if everyone's using rare tomes and whatnot all the time, you would enter, your 50% and whatnot, versus people just using commons all the time. And some of you guys might not even be using these at all. You can get that information from your guild. Another thing here is that we only have raid 1, 2, and 3. People are doing raid 4, just assume they're doing raid 3. It doesn't make that big of a difference, and we don't have adequate data on the experience values for raid 4. Alright, I think the other tab right here is the survey tab. And this one, you can probably figure out what to do. You enter, how many potatoes do you like? And then you can say, well, Link 2012, I asked him and he said, infinite. So yeah, you're going to enter your surveys here, your questions, exactly what it's doing, and you can essentially use this data to plot graphs and whatnot, to figure out, trends, and so on and so forth. If that's your kind of thing. If not, you can delete this one or just leave it be. You don't really need to do anything with this one. All right, so now is the fun stuff. So you have your member performance tab. This is essentially where all of the magic is happening. Wait, did I go over quick overview? You don't need to edit quick overview. I'm just going to put it that way. You don't need to edit any of this stuff. It says it right here. Don't edit this stuff. This all comes from member performance. This is just a easier access to this stuff. Okay, so up here, if you ever get lost, there's a key to which columns are which. So let's say you just download this document, you want to start entering information for your players. the first thing I would actually do is, whenever working with all of this stuff, would go down and start working on the GVG information. So you're going to want to go and find the guild versus guild information for your guild. So in order to do that, we're going to go in game right here, as you can see on my beautiful screen, click guild, click events, click enter, click guild, and then you can see all the different contributions for your players. As well as, if you click ranks right here, you can see the different placing and points of your guild in various events. Also, I just lied. Oh, I'm doing this in one sitting, so I can't make too... Errors are pretty big. Oh, anyways, you're going to actually want to enter the names of your players first. So right over here, you've got your players name column. So let's just enter a few names here. We got Bob, we got Peter, we've got Billy, we've got Potatoes. Okay, I totally didn't misspell that accidentally. Now, since these guys all joined on day 1, when you start using this document, you can just say you don't need to change any of this. Their initial day joined is 1. But you're also going to want to input their initial contribution. So let's say Bob's like a real awesome MVP, and Peter has like this sweet number, and Billy's like terrible, and Potatoes is just like weird. Okay, so you've got all of their fabulous initial contributions. And that's some of the information you got there. So now we're going to go down to guild, and the nice thing about this is, where is the guild? Right here. So the guild GVG information. It already copied their names down, so you don't need to worry about that at all. So now you're going to want to enter the current GVG you're in. So if we go back to game, we can see what how many GV. This is basically a measuring of how many GVGs you've done. So currently, this is the 10th GVG, except if we go down, oh no, this is the 11th one, because you see, my guild did not participate in the Raider event, but we did participate in the Colonial event, and so we can count up from here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. So, oh, I thought we were on 10. Anyways, okay. So here you're going to enter currently 9 GVGs in, and so you would enter the information for your players in all these different GVGs. I'm not going to do that just for the sake of time, but you would go like, you know, all this stuff. And make sure that you do say that these guys have joined on GVG1. So here we go. All of these fellows have joined on GVG1. You're also going to want to come down here and enter your total guild score and guild rank for this event. So as your days go on, so let's say that this is the second day, you wake up in the morning, you're like, man, I gotta go record the information for my guild because this is a habit I want to get in, that way we can track our progression. Well, you look at your information, and well, Bob has just gained like 1 million stuffs, and Peter has gained, you know, his stuff, and Billy and Potatoes. Fabulous. So you have all your new stuff recorded, but don't forget that you need to change the current day to 2. So your current day is going to basically be the one that it's right here. And the calculator will take all the information and be like, yo, here is some of the information on them. And I'll show you what this looks more like with a little bit more dynamic information in a bit. Of course, the same is for GVG. So say your GVG is over, you're going to want to go through, you're going to want to enter, well, this is GVG 10. So on GVG 10, Bob did this much, and Peter and Billy and Potatoes. Great, come on. I am sorry. There we go. Sweet, fabulous. So you're going to enter. We're on GVG number 10. And you go back here again, and on GVG number 10, you enter that you have 10 points in your rank was somehow top 20, even though you only had 10 points. Maybe this is GVG beta. That's why. Okay, so there you go. So that's how you add information to this. It's pretty simple. Just get up every day and do this. Now, the one issue is, what if you miss a day? What if you miss a day? Unfortunately, I don't really have anything built into this calculator if you miss a day. So just don't miss a day. But here's what you do. Say you do miss a day. Here's one thing you can do. You can say, well, after this much time, nope, it has to be bigger. Well, actually, I'll show you this in a bit. So you've got this, you've got this, you've got this. So you can see there's a difference here. One thing you can do is you can take your fancy calculator and you can find the difference between these two. So you can actually do this on Excel. You find equals this minus this, and so you get the difference between these two. And then you want to add this number. No. You want to take the difference, and then you're going to want to divide it by the number of days you're gone. So that would be 2. And then you're going to want to add this number. And so this will give you an average, except it does not want to work for some reason. What am I doing wrong? Oh, here we go. Divide it by 2. I didn't divide it by 2. There you go. So this will basically say average these. And so you can pull that down and you get these. Of course, there's a red thing. So yeah, don't skip a day. So I'm going to head over to mine now and show you. We have gotten quite a ways. So basically right here we have really neat information on our members. So the red ones mean that the member was absent that day, so they didn't contribute anything. The yellow means they were the lowest contributor for that day, and the green means they were the highest contributor for that day. So you go to the current day, you can be like, it looks like IA4A is often the top contributor. That's really awesome. I should go compliment him. Or you can look and say, oh, Artistic Planet isn't doing too hot these days. I should probably go let him know that, like say, hey, you can do better, bro. So we've got that. We can even come all the way down here, and we can see how much people have contributed in the past week, several days, several weeks, several months. So let's go here and let's say 3 days. So we can see how much all our members have contributed in the past few days, as well as their percent contribution and their ranking according to other players. So I can look in here and I can say who's contributed the most in the past month. Oh, that's Max Jacka. So I should probably, say that she's awesome and give her a promotion. Or maybe it's him. I don't know. I'm a potato. You can also enter your custom things down here. So let's say you want to do it for like over the past 6 days. You type custom 6 and you go under custom and it'll pull from the past 6 days. One thing to note about this though is that with members who have joined recently, let's say within the past week, it will assume that they've contributed 0 on the days that they've contributed 0. So just keep that in mind, that the information there might not be so accurate. The point system has a little bit more accurate representation, but we're going to get into that during the end of the episode. Alright, so we've gotten very far, but now, Link 2012. This guy, he's the worst guy ever, and we want to remove him from the guild because he smells like cheese. So I'm actually going to change this. I'm going to say, pretend I joined on day 2. So we have this information. So basically we're going to go through and we're going to remove Link 2012. First of all, actually, we're not going to go up there. We're going to come down here and we're going to delete his GVG record. So nothing happened in GVG. And you're going to want to set his GVG joined to 0. Alright, so that's all for GVG. So now we're going to go back up. And we are going to delete his entire row of records. Simple as that. And then we go back over here, we changed his day joined to 1, and then we copy his name, and then we set it to something, pretty simple, like B. So this is essentially just a placeholder to remind you, oh, there's not someone in this slot right now. There's 25 slots for a maximum of 25 members. One important thing to note is that this should be different than all of the other ones. The reason for this is that the calculator basically looks up information. And so when looking up information, if 2 of the things are the same, it gets confuzzled and explodes. Not really, it doesn't explode, don't worry. So we've done that, but we also need to go under kicked players and give a reason why Link 2012 was kicked. So we will paste his name and then let's enter a reason. Let's say he broke the rules, because smelling like potatoes breaks the rules. Smells like potatoes. So there we go. So now we have him kicked, we have that information stored, and we have this new slot open. Well, guess what? A new player just decided to join your guild, and his name is... Come on. Why does it always take so long to load? So we want to add a new player now. So I've shown you how to remove players, I've shown you how to set up initial things, and go through, each day. But now we need to add a player. So let's say a new player joins your guild. And we're going to call him, Princess Potato. Fabulous. Isn't that the most beautiful name? So Princess Potato is now in our records. So what we need to do now is set their day joined to 1 plus the current day. So that's going to be 43. Now the reason for this is because their first initial contribution is going to be a little whacked up because they joined halfway through the day probably. And so this is essentially taking the difference of the next day, and it's basically a bunch of weird stuff. Don't worry about it. Just trust me. Just set it to 43. The only thing is that that's going to give you like an error on some of these things, but don't worry about that. Okay? You're adding a new player to the guild. It's awesome. So you've added them up there, but now you need to enter their GVG. So Princess Potato has joined us in GVG number 8. Oh, I do have it set up to 8. Oh, I need to change it on my other one then. So now we have our Princess Potato. She's joined GVG 8, and so we can enter her contribution whenever GVG 9 is up. So you do enter the GVG that they've contributed in. So in this case, Princess Potato would have had to have contributed in GVG number 8. So let's just say that she contributed. But if the GVG 8 is over and you're waiting for 9, you would just say 9. So in this case, let's pretend this GVG over is, we just say 9. Okay, last thing we need to go over before this video ends is go over the point system. So the point system is essentially a more dynamic way of tracking player contribution. So what you can do here is, let's stop scrolling forever. So we have our, is this on mine? Why isn't this? Oh, points. Well, first of all, let's set up how many points we want players to gain for everything. So this first category here is how many points players gain for every contribution. So let's say we want them to gain 1 point for every 100,000 contribution. Well, that's the way it currently is. But if we wanted it to just be 1 point for every 50, we can go here and type in 50. But I'm not going to do that. Oh, never mind, it already did. Oh, I guess it doesn't lag that much because of reasons. So that's that. Now your highest points, this is essentially the highest contributing player for any given day. How many points? Do they get any bonus points? If so, how many? So here I have it set up so that the person who contributes the highest on any given day gets 1 bonus point. Then we have absence points. Essentially, this is points deducted if the player is not there on a particular day. So here, they're getting minus 0.5. Of course, you can change that. You can make it like minus 100, and then you players would basically have to be active every single day because you want that, maybe. I would make this a little bit more balanced, though. That way, you can more or less track things more, intricately. Over here, we've got lowest points. So this is essentially, a player might think, well, I can come on and just do 1 dungeon, and then the calculator won't track me. Well, actually it does in 2 regards. The first one is that if you contribute the lowest, this will kick in and say, we're going to minus this many points. Now, here's another qualifier, though. Let's say everyone in your guild is very dedicated, and they're all making like 100,000 contribution a day. Well, we don't want them to get penalized for that. So right here, even though they might have the lowest points, if they have over 50,000, they won't get deducted for that. So right here I have it set to 50,000. I might reduce that soon now. So if they have the lowest points and they're under 50,000, they get charged. Same thing over here. This is penalty points. So this is for if a lot of people are slacking, you're going to deduct some points if they have under a particular contribution. So in this case, I have it set up to 10,000 because that's basically like you're absent. You're not doing anything on that day. A very important thing to note is that these two should not total to more than your absence points. Your absence points should always be more than the lowest points plus the penalty points, because players can get both of these, and you don't want to be penalizing them for doing just a little bit for more than if they weren't there at all. Finally, we have a bonus points. So this is essentially if you want to reward members for doing very outstanding. So on any given day, if members make more than this amount of points, they'll gain this amount of contribution, they'll gain this amount of points. So in this case, if they gain more than 150,000 contribution in a day, they're going to gain 0.25 points. All right, so translate. Okay, Link, I got that, but like, how many days is this over? Well, you can actually change that right over here. So let's say you want to collect points over the past 7 days. Well, you would enter 7 here. If you wanted that to be 6 days, you can just go 6. If you just want that to be 5, you go 5. If you just want 2 is 2. I wouldn't do that though. Let's change it back to 7. Now, how many points do you want your players to get every single week? So for a high-end guild, you probably want like 10. That's like $1 million contribution a week, plus or minus this stuff. I mean, that depending on how you set it up. I guess, really think about how much you want your players contributing, how many bonuses and whatnot they're getting, and then based off of that, how much you want. Currently, I have it set to 3. So my players need to make 3 points at any given time in order to stay in the guild. Currently, we have a few members that I'm going to be kicking, of course. So there's that. And then yellow is basically saying, like, if you're under this much, you should really be watching out because you're not making that much. I mean, you still can stay in the guild, but you should be careful. I think we have one yellow member right here. It's Outer Mask. He's actually a very low-level player, so that's actually really good on his part. Now, you might be wondering, so we have green, red, yellow, but what about this purple? So purple essentially means that they have joined the guild within this many days. So they've joined within the past 7 days, so you can't really count their points yet. But as soon as these guys have been here for more than the amount of days the points are collected over, you can, of course, start tabulating that, and this calculator will keep track of that for you, which is awesome. Additionally, it'll also keep track of everything on the members overview page, which is basically a simplified version of that. This is much more clean, whereas this is more for recording your data. So over here is really where your guild leader, or I guess you in this case, get to customize it. And right over here is where your players will probably be looking, saying, oh man, I want to see how many gone points I've gained. So 1 so far, 1 point removed. So they can easily see that. And of course up here they can see exactly what qualifies this. Don't edit this again. This is a very big complex formula that takes from this part. I think I covered everything. Let me know if you guys have any questions or concerns, any suggestions for improvement. I can always change this very, very simply. And if you found this video useful, leave a like. If you did not find it useful, leave a dislike. And until next time, look forward to seeing you. Have a fabulous day.